What's up, what's up, what's up? Welcome back. It's me, Brianka J, and you're back on my little corner of the internet where we talk all things books, analysis, short stories, theory, you name it. We talk about it if it's a book. So, if that is you, you love books like I love books, then please go ahead and click subscribe. If you're been here before, welcome back. You know what I'm saying? You know how we do. Today we're gonna read a short story by W.E.B Du Bois. I've never read it before. Y'all know. Y'all know I'm finna be shocked with y'all. So we gonna hope it's a good one. It's called The Comet. Stay tuned. And quick with the same startling thought, they looked into each other's eyes. He, ashen, and she, crimson with unspoken thought. To both the vision of a mighty beauty, of vast unspoken things, swelled in their souls, but they put it away. Great dark coils of wire came up from the earth and down from the sun entered this low layer of witchery, the gathered lightnings of the world centered here. Binding with beams of light the ends of the earth, the doors gaped open, the gloom within. He paused on a threshold. Do you know the code? She asked. I know the call for help. We used it formerly at the bank. She hardly heard. She heard the lapping of the waters far below, the dark and restless waters, the cold and luring waters as they called. He stepped within. Slowly she walked to the wall where the water called below and stood and waited. Long she waited and he did not come. When with a start she saw him, too, standing beside the black waters. Slowly he removed his coat and stood there silently. She walked quickly to him and laid her hand on his arm. He did not start or look. The waters lapped on in a luring, deadly rhythm. He pointed down to the water. She said quietly, the world lies beneath the waters now. May I go? She looked into his stricken, tired face. The great pity surged within her heart. She answered in a voice clear and calm, no. Upward, they turned toward life again, and he seized the wheel. The world was darkening to twilight, and a great gray pall was falling, mercifully, gently on the sleeping dead. The ghastly glare of reality seemed replaced with the dark of some vast romance. The girl lay silently back as the motor whizzed along and looked half-consciously for the elf queen to wave into his dead world again. She forgot to wonder at the quickness with which he had learned to drive her car. It seemed natural. And then, as they whirled and swung into Madison Square and at the door of the Metropolitan Tower, she gave a low cry and her eyes were great. Perhaps she had seen the Elf Queen. The man led her to the elevator to the tower and deftly they ascended. In her father's office they gathered rugs and chairs and he wrote a note and laid it on the desk. Then they ascended to the roof and he made her comfortable. For a while she rested and sang to dreamy watched the world above and wondering. Below lay the dark shadows of the city and afar was the shining of the sea. She glanced at him timidly as he set food before her and took a shawl and wound her in it, touching her reverently yet tenderly. She looked up at him with thankfulness in her eyes, eating what he served. He watched the city. She watched him. He seemed very human, very near now. Have you had to work hard? She asked softly. Always, he said. I have always been idle, she said. I was rich. I was poor, he almost echoed. The rich and the poor are met together, she began, and he finished. The Lord is the maker of them all. Yes, she said slowly. And how foolish our human distinctions seem now. Looking down to the great dead city stretched below, swimming in unlightened shadows. Yes, I was not human yesterday, he said. She looked at him. And your people were not my people, she said. But today, she paused. He was a man, no more, but he was in some larger sense a gentleman. Sensitive, kindly, chivalrous, safe his hands in his face. Yet yesterday, death the leveler, he muttered, and the revealer, she whispered gently, rising to her feet with great eyes. He turned away, and her fumbling a moment sent a rocket into the darkening air. It arose, shrieked, and flew up, a slim path of light, and scattered its stars abroad. Dropped on the city below. She scarcely noticed it. A vision of the world had risen before her. Slowly, the mighty prophecy of her destiny overwhelmed her. Above the dead, past hovered the angel of Annunciation. She was no mere woman. She was neither high nor low, white nor black, rich nor poor. She was primal woman, mighty mother of all men to come and bride of life. She looked upon the man beside her and forgot all else but his manhood, his strong, vigorous manhood, his sorrow and sacrifice. She saw him glorified. He was no longer a thing apart, a creature below, a strange outcast of another clime and blood, but her brother humanity incarnate, Son of God and great All-Father to the race to be. He did not glimpse in glory in her eyes, but still looking outward toward the sea and sending rocket after rocket into the unanswered darkness. Dark purple clouds lay banked and billowed in the west. Behind them and all around, the heavens glowed in dim, weird radiance that suffused the darkening world and made almost a minor music. Suddenly, as though gathered back in some vast hand, the great cloud curtain fell away. Low on the horizon lay a long white star, mystic, wonderful, and from it fled upward to the pole, like some wan bridal veil. A pale, wide sheet of flame that lighted the world and dimmed the stars. In fascinated silence, the man gazed at the heavens and dropped his rockets to the floor. Memories of memories stirred to life in the dead recesses of his mind. The shackles seemed to rattle and fall from his soul. Up from the crash and crushing and cringing of his caste leapt the long majesty of kings long dead. He arose within the shadows, tall, straight, and stern, with power in his eyes and ghostly scepters hovering to his grasp. It was as though some mighty pharaoh lived again, O curled Assyrian lord. He turned and looked upon the lady and found her gazing straight at him. Silently, immovably, they saw each other face to face, eye to eye. Their souls lay naked to the night. It was not lust. It was not love. It was some vaster, mightier thing that needed neither touch of body nor thrill of soul. It was a thought divine, splendid. Slowly, noiselessly, they moved towards each other, the heavens above, the seas around, the city grim and dead below. He loomed from out the velvet shadows, vast and dark, pearl white and slender. She shone beneath the stars. She stretched her jeweled hands abroad. He lifted up his mighty arms, and they cried each to the other, almost with one voice. The world is dead. Long live the honk, honk. Hoarse and sharp, the cry of a motor drifted clearly up from the silence below. They started backward with the cry and gazed upon each other with eyes that faltered and fell, with blood that boiled. Honk, 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 came the mad cry again, and almost from their feet a rocket blazed into the air and scattered its stars upon them. She covered her eyes with her hands, and her shoulders heaved. He dropped and bowed, groped blindly on his knees about the floor. A blue flame sputtered lazily after an age, and she heard the screams of an answering rocket as it flew. Then they stood still as death, looking to opposite ends of the earth. Clang, crash, clang. The roar and wing of swift elevators shooting upward from below made the great tower tremble. A murmur and babble of voices swept in upon the night. All over the once dead city the lights blinked, flickered and flamed, and then with a sudden clang of doors, the entrance of the platform was filled with men, and one with white and flying hair rushed to the girl and lifted her to his breast. "My daughter," he sobbed. Behind him hurried a younger, comelier man, carefully clad in motor costume, who bent above the girl with passionate solicitude and gazed into her staring eyes until they narrowed and dropped her face, flushed deeper and deeper crimson. "Julia," he whispered, "my darling, I thought you were gone forever." She looked up at him with strange, searching eyes. "Fred," she murmured almost vaguely, "is the world gone?" "Only New York," he said. "It is terrible, awful. You know, How did you escape? How have you endured this horror? Are you well? Unharmed. Unharmed, she said. And this man here, he added, encircling her dropping form with one arm and turning toward the Negro. Suddenly he stiffened, with his hand flew to his hip. Why, he snarled, it's a nigger, Julia. Has he dared? She lifted her head and looked up at her late companion curiously, and then dropped her eyes to the side. He has dared all to rescue me, she said quietly, and I thank him much. But she did not look at him again. As the couple turned away, the father drew a roll of bills from his pockets. Here, my good fellow, he said, thrusting the money into the man's hands. Take that. What's your name? Jim Davis, came the answer, hollow voice. Well, Jim, I thank you. I've always liked your people. If you ever want a job, call on me. They were gone. The crowd poured up and out of the elevator, talking and whispering. Who was it? Are they alive? How many? 2? Who was saved? A white girl and a nigger. There she goes. A nigger? Where is he? Let's lynch the damn. Shut up. He's all right. He saved her. Saved hell. He had no business. Here he comes. Into the glare of the electric lights, the colored man moved slowly with the eyes of those that walked in sleep. Well, what do you think of that? Cried a bystander. Of all New York, just a white girl and a nigger. The colored man heard nothing. He stood silently beneath the glare of the light, gazing at the money in his hand and shrinking as he gazed. Slowly, he put his other hand into his pocket and brought out a baby's filmy cap and gazed again. A woman mounted to the platform and looked about, shading her eyes. She was brown, small, and toil-worn, and in one arm lay the corpse of a dark baby. The crowd parted, and her eyes fell on the colored man with a cry. She tottered toward him. Jim! He whirled, and with a sob of joy, caught her in his arms. That's it.